What's going on, everybody? My name is Emilio Maingi. Welcome to the third video on object-oriented programming, and in this video we'll be talking about properties and methods. And properties, also known as fields, are basically variables defined inside a class. We have defined a class user here. So any variables that we will define inside of this class, that's what we are referring to as properties. Okay, so properties are just variables within that class. Like for example, we can have a property like here. We can have a class property called let's define one. Let's say number of users. Okay, and let us set it equal to we can initialize it to 0. So here, this number of users, it is a property. Okay, this number of users is a property. We have seen a property is any variable defined inside of that class. So this is a property of the user class. Now let's keep moving with our slides here. We are told there are two types of fields or properties. There are class fields and instance fields. Now, to get a full grasp of what the difference between these two properties, we will have to understand what methods are first, because instance fields, they are defined inside methods, and class fields are defined outside of the methods but inside the class. That's the major difference between them. So understanding methods first will be very nice, so that you understand the difference between the two. Now, methods are functions within a class. We have seen that variables in a class are called properties, and methods in a class, functions within a class, are called methods. Don't forget that. Now let's look at an example of a method. Here, where I have pass, let us define a new method called logout. Let's just call it logout, or let's just say something. A method called say something, and then here, okay, say something, and now this is a method. If you want, now you can do pass. That's if you have nothing to do with the method and you just want to as the code is compiling, to just pass there. So now because here we have defined a class field, let's now define what we are calling an instance field. Now here I will say self dot something will be equal to let's pass something inside here, so that, and there is a very important thing that I have forgotten to tell you guys, and it is this: for every method you define inside a class in Python, always have the first argument as the keyword self. Now, the inside these two parentheses, these two brackets here, what comes inside there is called a parameter or an argument. And always remember that in every Python class, in every Python method inside a class, the first argument is that keyword self, and it is used to refer to the current object of that class. You shall understand further. Let me just pass in another variable here, that is the something that we want to say. So I will say here is something, okay, something. Let's say something. Okay, now here I'll come and copy this and then say it is equal to self dot something equal to something, the one that we have passed here. Now this something here is what we are now calling the instance field. This one, the instance field. And the other one, number of users, is what we are calling the class field, because it is defined outside of all the methods. But something here is defined inside a method, so it is an instance variable. Now when we go back to our slides here on accessing properties and methods, now we have two properties here. We have two properties, something and number of users. We can access them right from this object of the class user here. So if we want to access like number of users, let's just say something. Let's say something. We will do the object name, which we have said that when you have an object of a certain class, it takes all the properties and methods. So we'll say the object dot say something, and remember, say something here, it takes in an argument, that is something. And remember one thing, in object-oriented programming in Python, you do not have to pass this variable here, the keyword self. Here you just pass from the second argument, that is something. So let me pass what we want to say here, and we want to greet some people. We want to say hello YouTubers. Okay, hello YouTubers. Now that's what I want to say. And since now that I have initialized it and it has been passed to this method through this argument something here, let us access this variable something. Now how do you do that? You just do it like the way we have accessed the method say something. So we'll come here to our object and say maingi dot something. So, and obviously we want to print this. Let's just do a print statement here and see what happens. Remember here, the class is starting from here up to this point, and this class has one property and one method. But here this is instantiating or creating a new object of the class user, and our object is called maingi. Now we want maingi to say something. We want them to say hello YouTubers. Now here self dot something is let me see, let's write here. We can even have a I'll talk about return statements just shortly. Let me not confuse you. So with this I'm trying to access this method called say something, and with this statement here I'm trying to access this property called something. I hope you are understanding, guys, how to access the properties and the methods. Now if I wanted to access a number of users, let's first run it like this before we access number of users. And here I'm going to run, and you can see my code says what? Hello YouTubers, and it is just what it is. Say something. It is setting that variable to what we have passed through here. It is setting the something that we have printed here to what we have passed here, which is hello YouTubers. It's that simple. Now let's try to access this class variable here and say let's say print mahindi dot no number of users. Save that one, see whether we will be able to access that. Hello YouTubers 0. So you can see how we are accessing variables inside of that class, and how we are accessing methods inside of this class user. Now let's continue with our slides here after understanding how to access properties and methods. Now properties and methods are called attributes collectively, whether it is a property or a method. When we come to that class context, both methods and properties are called attributes. It's very important to know that. Now, understanding the importance of return values and arguments. We have already talked about arguments. You know what an argument is. An argument is what we are passing inside these parentheses, these brackets. So in this case, or this method here, our arguments are self and something. So now return values. Now let me see here. Let us do something else. Let us we define another method here, and let's call it define login. Okay, login. Let's define login, and then login, we want login to receive a certain, and always remember this: for every method in a Python class, you start, the first argument is self. For every method you will write. Now what parameters can we pass in here? It will be maybe the name. Okay, the name, you can pass in the name and any other variable that you want to pass inside here, name and ID. Okay, and then inside here we will come and say self dot name. Remember, now we are setting the variable name with, what do we want to set with the name that we have passed through the method, with this name here. Okay, now let me change this so that they don't look alike with this one, although there is no harm. You say here my name when those two are the same, there is no harm. This one and this one, there is no harm. Now that that is equal to name, so that I don't confuse some of you guys, let me just use that. Then here we will come and say my ID will be equal to what? To the ID that we have passed here. Now we wanted to have some return values. Now here we shall look at we shall write, maybe let's say to log the user in, we just set the value of this name, we just set this variable and this property and this property, we set those two properties and we have logged in the user. So to acknowledge to the calling function, to the calling statement that we have logged the user, let's just return true. Okay, now this is the function of this is now what we are calling a return statement, or the return value here is true. This is the return statement. Now for example, let's say we had another method here called def get name. If we had another method there, and then what this method will do, it will return the name of the current user. So it will return self dot name, no, my name. Okay, let it return self dot my name. Now let us see what this results to when we create a new instance of the user. We have an error here, undefined variable true. Okay, in Python I think it should be in capital letter like that. Okay, now let us create another instance. Okay, we have, or we just use maingi. Should they say something? Method has no argument. Oh yes, I think now you see, this is one of the things that I have been telling you. Every method in a Python class should have that self keyword, and don't forget please. So now let's see if it gets our name, which we set here when we logged in. So we still use maingi here, so we'll come and say, let's remove or I just comment out these codes so that you may use them. So here I will say maingi equal new maingi, and then I will say I will log maingi in. So I will say maingi dot login. Okay, maingi dot login, and remember our login takes two arguments. The first one is the name, so I just give it the name, Emilio Maingi. And now since we also pass the next one, which is the ID, we can pass any number, just any number like 1, no, my favorite number, which is 9, and now since we have now logged the user in, okay, we have now logged the user in, let us now see if our return if we get name, it is going to return for us the name. Now here, after this statement, I will write I will say Maingi, our object, then we access the get name, which is a method, and it doesn't have to be fed with any parameter. So when it returns, remember it is returning the name, so we want to print the name here. So we come here and say print Maingi dot get name. Let us run the class and see if we've got some errors. So here, wow, it is returning the name very well. So guys, I hope you are understanding about return statements. They will help you very much. Like this one here, it is returning some value inside some property inside the class. Okay, if you have another method and you perform your logic, and after performing your logic you want to return a value to the user, use return statements. And another thing about return statements, if let me just duplicate this and use ID here, my ID. Okay, if I run this code, let's just run and see what happens so that you see for yourself. Okay, what do you see? 9. Now here, in any method, when the method as the code is running, when it comes across a return statement, the rest of the code in that function will not run. Actually, even here it is, my IntelliFence is telling me unreachable code because it won't run after that return statement. So I hope we are together, guys, up to that point and you are getting something. So let's go back to our slides and see what else we got. Now I want to, maybe because of time, let us talk about constructors in our next video. So when we come back, we'll talk about a class constructor. We'll see how it works and use it to do something. Okay, so guys, don't forget to subscribe. I hope this has been very helpful to you. It has taught you something new, and yeah, subscribe, share to a friend who you think can get help from this knowledge. Let's meet in the next video.